A warm welcome to our next podcast series, Enrich Your Life with Beyoncé. And today I'm super delighted and inspired by our wonderful guest who is sitting in front of me with a huge smile on his face. So he's already an inspiration having him here. And I would like to warmly welcome Lukas
Thank
to
you for having me.
today's podcast.
It's great being here. Thank you for inviting me and having me to the podcast, and looking forward to the conversation.
Excellent. So let's delve in. Lukas, why are you here? So when I say enriching people's life, and I remember the first moment when I have seen you, you were giving a speech on a stage, and I really thought, wow, what an inspiration. And I really mean it. And that was the first moment when I thought, this is exactly what Beyoncé is doing, enriching people's life. And Lukas, he did it amazingly. And I thought we need to connect. And that's why you're here today.
I remember that. So that was some time ago at the Toastmasters Club here in our company. And I gave a presentation that was called My Biggest Regret. So a bit of background about me. My name is Lukas. I'm 27. I'm super passionate about storytelling, video creation, LinkedIn posting, and most of all, just bringing out the best in people, I would say. And I remember we connected on the Toastmasters event. And my dad is a professional magician. So when I was 11 years old, I started being on stage and learning the skill of public speaking. And I find a lot of passion in that, like bringing people on stage, bringing people in front of cameras, in front of audiences, and just learning them how to bring their messages across in a way that it resonates with people, but also finding the beauty of being on stage and just being able to share their wisdom and their experience and their knowledge, because I think everybody's a teacher.
Wow. You can imagine here in the studio, inspiration is everywhere, and you can hear it in Lukas' voice already. And when he said, everybody is a teacher, what do you mean by that?
I think so many times for me, it was great because when I was 16, I started working with my apprenticeship. So everybody was older than me, more experienced. They had done their studies. They have a doctor title, they have a PhD, they have a master's. And I was always in a position where I was the youngest. And this kind of taught me that there's always something you can learn from everybody, but only if you're open to that. You can learn something from your neighbors. You can learn something from your grandparents. You can learn something from your friends. Because I think one of the biggest realizations I had is that to realize that I am not the best at everything, and that is absolutely fine. I have my strengths in certain areas, and other people have their strengths in other certain areas. And what does it bring me to say, no, I am better than you at this, even though I don't have any idea about that topic? So I would say being curious and learning has always been a big part of me, I would say.
What a beautiful observation, right? And thank you for answering the question about learning. And I really appreciate that when you said, I was also struggling, and you said I was the youngest and we had PhDs and all the successful folks around me. However, I found out that I have my strengths. I'm good as I am, and I can learn. And I very much liked when you said being curious. So what does that mean for you, being curious?
For me, I find interest in everything. I think it doesn't matter what it is, doesn't matter what kind of sports it is or hobby. I would say I'm a naturally very curious person, and I love reading and also books about topics I have no idea about. And I think it's cool when you kind of can go from one subject to the other one, because life is so rich and there's so many things that we don't know and we haven't heard about. And I don't know, being open is a very, very important thing, I would say. How do you see that?
Absolutely, I totally agree, and it totally resonates what you say. you listeners cannot see that, but there's a huge smile in Lukas' face, and I really can sense and feel the inspiration
Yeah.
he has. And it's such a gift that, how you,
Uh,
what you want to share with us. And
Yeah, I would say there's a lot behind that, and this may be the reason why I'm smiling, because every topic that we touch, I can like go so deep into that and share great stories and examples. So I can maybe just start by picking one. And also, this was how we met actually, the Toastmasters. My presentation was my biggest regret. And basically, it talked about when I was 16, my father left the country and moved to Argentina. I had the decision to either go with my mom, who was living here in Switzerland but also was from a different country, or to watch after my grandmother, who was 92 years old at that time. And I was 16, so I was at the beginning of my life. She was at the end of her life. And I said, no, I want to look after my grandmother. So I found myself not alone, but like without really the father figure at that age, and looking after my grandmother. And this was such an amazing experience at that young age, because it taught me like to be responsible, and it actually taught me what life really is about, what really matters. And what do I mean by that is, when I was looking after her, she always, you know how there's old people. I mean, they always tell the same story, tell stories all every day. And I realized after some time that she was always telling the same stories over and over again. And I was like, but what is she actually saying in these stories? It was never about something that she was mad about. It was never complaining. It was never about, oh, this person did this to me when I was 16. It was always moments of joy, like happiness, and letters that she received. I mean, how fascinating is that at the end of your life, you remember one letter that you got when you were like 20, 25 years old. And it's still to that day, like 70 years later, it still brought a smile to her face. And she told me the story, and I had a smile on my face. And I'm telling Thorsten the story right now, and he has a smile on his face. So I think life really is about the small moments, I think, and appreciating that, appreciating the people around us, and just, yeah, seeing the good in things.
well, what another beautiful episode of your life. And I think it's amazing because very often we wake up in the morning and then we start and look where's the entrance of our huge hamster wheel, the long to-do list. And you brought a good aspect into that you say it's about time. We always think, okay, I need to do, I have to do, I must, and here I need to grow and I need to achieve this. However, we reflect as you bring in your grandma and we talk about this time factor. How beautiful is that, that in your wonderful, beautiful age, what you mentioned at the beginning of the episode, that you already have this understanding and can enjoy this journey. So tell us more, maybe the listeners, about what do you think really makes the difference and the one thing you would like to share with us.
If there's one thing I could really, or I would like to share, is for people to be present. And I know this sounds like something which is way overused nowadays, in a way we tell people, oh, just be present, do this, do that. What do I mean by that, being present? By being present, I don't mean doing things which, like living a hedonistic lifestyle, just going after purely what brings you pleasure, or being egoistic in a kind of way. But by being present, I mean like really savor every moment when you're eating a meal. To, I mean, so many times we go into a restaurant, we see couples or like people both staring into their phone. Or like sometimes when you're having lunch, how often is it that we're looking at our phone, we're watching some videos? And I'm the same sometimes. I catch myself exactly the same in those moments. But if you really think about this, like how much effort and work went into that meal, like from growing the potatoes, catching the fish, or like raising the cows and stuff like this, to just be devoured in like 2 seconds without really giving it attention. So like this is in the aspect of um, being more conscious and mindful. But at the same time, when you are with people, like truly be present. Like ask them, how are you doing? And really mean by how are you doing? Not so many times in the corporate world, and especially in the office, I have observed that we see people every day. We see tens and hundreds of people every day. We see them at the coffee machine. We see them running from one place to the other one. We ask them, so how are you doing? How was your weekend? They tell us something about, oh yeah, this and that, the kids, everything. But it's kind of like this small talk, but it's not really, you don't really know how the person actually is doing. That's one thing about taking a genuine interest in people. And if there's one last thing that I would like to share is to embrace vulnerability and to really know that it is a strength.
Wow, beautiful. Really impressive, Lukas. And you mentioned vulnerability, which I think for some people is even unknown because it's a space where we usually don't go. Because as you mentioned strengths and weaknesses in the beginning, that we say that it's a gift also to show our environment or at least our loved ones around us that we are vulnerable as well. And that's not a bad thing. So is there one thing you would like to share with our listeners when you say being vulnerable that made a difference for me? Or maybe you have even an example that you say, wow, look
Yeah,
at that. What a gift for the others around me.
I think only when we actually allow ourselves to be vulnerable and to realize that we are not the best at some things or some things didn't go as planned. I personally have to say that I suck at a lot of things, but that is absolutely fine. And Thorsten is smiling right now, which is great to see. I think this resonates. I suck at a lot of things, and that's absolutely fine. But I think it's how you deal with that and also how you phrase it in your mind. Yes, I may have failed this exam. I may have not gotten that position. I may not have um, got that girl on a date where I wanted to go on a date to. But what? It doesn't really make a difference in the end. Because the only thing that makes a difference in the end is, okay, this happened. Where do we go now? What's going to happen now? So this is also where it connects again with the present. But back to the topic of being vulnerable, only when we actually are kind to ourselves and allow ourselves to say, okay, this happened, but don't let it stop you. And when the beauty is when we're able to share this with other people, they actually realize, hey, it is okay to be vulnerable. It is okay to make mistakes. It is okay to not be the perfect student, or the perfect daughter, the perfect brother, the perfect whatever. So I think that's the power of it when we actually invite others to be themselves. And this, again, I think is all about enriching your life.
Beautiful that you bring our tagline into the episode. I appreciate that. And yeah, when I listening to your words, to your journey, to your experiences, to your learnings, it's super impressive. And I would like to challenge you a little bit because you are amazing. You have so much inspiration, motivation. So, what is your one big thing? So, if let's say we're gonna sit here together in 5 years or in 10 years, what is it?
The one big thing is, I mean, are you asking about my dream or what I would like to become or do or share?
What is the impact you want to have on this beautiful planet?
The impact that I want to have is telling people, or not telling people, but just inspiring people. It sounds very general, I have to say. Everybody, when he asks any Gen Y or anybody from the younger generation, they say they want to have an impact. But what does this really mean? Having an impact can be measured so many different ways. You can already have an impact by just helping your mother with something, or helping your sister or brother with something small. But if you think about it on a broader scale, and if I have to think about my own personal journey, I've always had this connection since, because my dad was a professional magician, where I just love standing on stage. And I know this is the thing that I want to do. And I know this is the thing that I love doing. And by this, because there's such an amazing feeling when you have 50 random people in front of you, and at the end of the magic show, everybody's your best friend, or everybody is inspired, and they tell their friends about it. But it just motivates them to also find their journey, I would say. My journey is not being a magician. I love doing that, and I still do that up to this day. But how exactly this is gonna roll out, I don't know. But I think that's also the beauty of it, you know. As when you know the why you're doing this, the how will always become clear later along the path.
Oh, beautiful. And sorry for putting it in the spot, but I think to summarize that, what I understood is you love being on the stage, inspiring people that they find their beauty or their happy life. So that's something beautiful. And this has an impact. So I think that's a little bit where we can connect the dots and say, okay, being on the stage, having an impact, inspiring people, and make this world more beautiful.
I mean, just like the Toastmaster presentation I did the other day, my topic was about sharing a very vulnerable moment or an experience. And I think how I tie to this to being on the stage is telling stories which make people reflect, think, appreciate life, and maybe find new ideas, get inspiration. And this is also what I'm trying to achieve with the videos I do on LinkedIn. Sorry for plugging myself here a little bit, but yeah, I've started doing videos on YouTube when I was 14, and I always found that video is an amazing way of reaching people and telling stories, because they can see your face, they can see, do you really believe in what you're saying? Are you like an authentic presenter, or are you just doing this because it's cool? So yeah, that's more or less about me.
Tell me more about this. Is it I'm doing that because it's cool? You also mentioned the authenticity. So what drives you?
What drives me is honestly a deep gratitude and appreciation for life. This is what drives me, because I think I'm amazingly blessed with beautiful friends, a beautiful family. I mean, every family has a lot of things which didn't went according to plan. Like my dad moved away when I was 16. My mom is from Argentina, living here with my sister alone, and my sister is unfortunately handicapped as well. So there's always been challenges, but I think about how you navigate through these challenges, and what you learn from that, and also what you can teach other people about that. This is what's my calling, I would say. So what drives me, you ask me, it's nothing monetary or something. It's more like giving back to the people who have helped you. I think that's my main motivation.
Beautiful. Thank you. And yeah, this giving back is also a beautiful gift. So, and you also mentioned it's always about us or on us, how we navigate through life. And I always say life is not a cruise. Life is like a rafting tour. So there will be rough water, but there will be also soft water. But it totally resonates what you said with navigating through life. And with that, I think we are closely coming to an end. And before I let you go, what is the final say you would like to share with these beautiful listeners we have today?
The final thing that I would like to share is be present, have fun, love life. And as you mentioned, sometimes it's a storm. You don't know, should I go left or should I go right? But if you put your best foot forward, have the best intentions, and always know that whatever will happen, you will always manage somehow, and you will always find a way, just go for it.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Lukas. It has been a huge pleasure having you in there. I'm super inspired after this wonderful series. And thank you. Thank you to all your listeners. And as usual, don't forget to enrich your life, and see you in the next session. Namaste.